You didn't go over and talk to him?
We're screening. Hey, good morning, everybody. It is almost that time. I appreciate you being here. Don't forget, if you want to speak and be on the record, to push the microphone button on and off. So it's 9 o'clock, or we'll call it 9 o'clock, and I'd like to welcome everyone to our regular business meeting today on November 10th. It's hard to believe that is November 10th. So with that said, would you all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Let's pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Hamilton, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Hostetler?
Present.
Mr. Lyons?
Here.
Mr. Wallace?
Here.
Mr. Corman?
Present.
Mr. Ellison?
Here.
Mr. Davila? Here. Mr. Livingston?
Here.
Mr. Culbertson?
Here.
Judge Covington?
Present. With that said, we will look at number 4 on our agenda, the minutes from our last meeting. And I would ask for anyone to make any comment. Motion from Mr. Kelly Corman.
Second.
Second from Mr. Hostetler. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Number 5, transfers as presented. Any questions or comments?
No. Go ahead. Motion approved.
Motion from Mr. Lyons, second from Mr. Hostetler. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Bills. Any questions as those were presented? Would there be a motion to approve?
Motion for approval.
Mr.
Second.
Wallace, second from Mr. Livingston. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. That'll move us down to our EMS new hire, Mr. Mudrack.
Judge Magistrates, I am pleased to recommend the appointment of Isabella Sturgill on behalf of Chris Runyon as a full-time EMT. I know last time I was here, I was excited about how we were fully staffed in EMS, but we had an unexpected resignation. And luckily, we had hired a bunch of part-timers, and so we were able to pull from that part-time group to appoint Isabella Sturgill as a full-time EMT. Her appointment will be effective November the 12th, and it'll be $12.47 an hour. So I present that recommendation to you.
Questions?
He already answered my question. Motion, Judge.
Motion from Mr. Hostetler.
Second.
Second from Mr. Lyons. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Purchase proposal for the generators. It's been a big process, and John has worked a lot, and Mike and Harold Hoskins. There's been quite a few folks on this conversations. How are you, John?
Good. Good morning, Judge. Good morning, Court. How are you all doing? I think, did everybody get in their packet the quotes from the Cummins? Basically, that was the quotes for the 5 generators, total $230,157, and that's all ran through Sourcewell. So I guess we would come before you this morning to ask for your all's approval to proceed with that purchase.
Could you give us an update on the time that we will have to wait to get them in here?
Right, and I just got that. The 250 kW current estimate's 40 weeks.
And that's JR's at the road
Yes.
department.
Yeah, and then the 25 kW is currently at 37 weeks, and then the one that's here, the 25 kW diesel, would be 52 to 54 weeks.
Questions or comments?
Well, so the 250 kW is in the road department, JR's group.
I'm trying to figure out
There's
what,
three.
It'd be-
EMS and then 2 fire stations.
there is a little difference in the EMS, that's why I was sitting here. The EMS looks like a three-phase. Yeah.
Why it's a different cost.
Yeah.
But is that still considered,
I'm assuming it is.
well, what I was wondering is, you've got three different, one was 40 weeks, the other one's 37 weeks, and then the 25 kW diesel, which is for here,
Mhm.
is 52 to 54 weeks. I guess my question is, the 25 kW natural gas, that's probably gonna be all three of those. They're coming in
Yes.
at 37 weeks.
Yes, yeah.
Wondering, so,
So you get three at one time, probably, those 3 points.
Probably, yeah.
well, yeah. Right, and the big one's coming in just, 3 weeks later for JR, but still, we're looking at on into next spring and summer.
Yeah, oh, yeah. But it's a step in the right direction.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
right. John and I were just talking about, Chief Ward and I were just talking, earlier this morning about how he would recommend us bidding the actual work. And we were talking about that, but I don't think we do anything now. We just get,
No.
if the court decides,
We just get
the
this
generators.
purchased, get them on the queue, and then we get updates. You know, if we think we're 8 weeks out, then we go on and
Put a bid out.
put a bid out.
Yeah.
Right,
Y'all think that's right?
yeah.
Good plan?
But that's gonna be sometime next year.
Yeah.
In the
Yeah,
spring.
With, like we talked about, with the cost of wire right now, it's so up and down, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, yeah,
And it may change, it may go down, it may go up more.
right, yeah.
But, you know,
Yeah.
I'm gonna lean on you, you know, look,
I got
this
big
looks like
shoulders,
the
Judge.
appropriate path to move forward with. Because I really think it's important that these facilities, I mean, I see Dwayne shaking his head, yes. You know, it's a no-brainer, and it gives us what we need, which is power in case of an emergency. And it makes those facilities more flexible as well. Would you say that's true, Mike?
Absolutely. You know, the tornado last December, you know, we struggled to find a place to power anything.
In western Kentucky, yeah.
Judge, I know at one time when we were discussing the generators, we were discussing locations for the courthouse, where we would place it. Had you all ever firm up where we were going to
Well, this is
put
gonna
the
be
generator?
diesel, not here. It's gonna be diesel, not natural gas.
And that's one of the things we kind of downsized, because the initial
Yeah,
footprint
I
of it
know
was way too big
I know we're
for
gonna do the second floor.
any of the areas, so
And thi-
basically
and this one's just gonna do the second floor.
yeah. So what
But-
we were looking at, because of where the panel is in the basement as well, is over here in the corner,
Okay.
yeah, on the side of the building. Now, I guess, like I said, we can adjust that and look at that if that's not a good spot. you know.
And we'll have to put fencing around it, I would assume.
JR, we would have to build some type of enclosure. Would it be best to have a enclosure that has a small roof that's still vented?
Yeah,
Don't think you need a roof? Well,
You don't even necessarily have to fence it in. The enclosure is gonna be self-contained that the gen set comes in. I mean, they're sitting out in all these schools. Most of them are not, some of them are, but most of them are not fenced in.
Okay.
They're just sitting there. And
potentially look at maybe some landscape you could put around
yeah,
it. so-
yeah, you could do something like that.
yeah.
Okay.
Would there be a motion to approve this? David Livingston with the motion, second from Mr. Lyons. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you all for your efforts. Get that train moving. So, the next is ordinance 2214, second reading, zone change. Any questions or comments before I ask Cam to read the document?
Good. Scott County Fiscal Court Ordinance Number 22-14, an ordinance changing the zone from a single-family residential R1B zone to an agricultural A1 zone for 12.403 acres for property located at 105 Rogers Gap Road, Phil St. John. Whereas at a public hearing held on August 11th, 2022, a petition for a zoning map amendment for property located at 105 Rogers Gap Road, from a single-family residential R1B zone to an agricultural A1 zone for 12.403 acres was presented to the Georgetown Scott County Planning Commission, and Commission recommending approval of the zone change by a vote of 7-0. And whereas the Scott County Fiscal Court agrees with the recommendation of the Planning Commission, and whereas the recommendation of the Planning Commission as reflected in their minutes is attached hereto and incorporated herein by reference. Now therefore be it ordained by the Scott County Fiscal Court, Section 1, that the zoning ordinance of Scott County, Kentucky be amended to show a change in zone for the property located at 105 Rogers Gap Road from a single-family residential R1B zone to an agricultural A1 zone for 12.403 acres. Section 2, that the conditions of approval for the zone change imposed by the Planning Commission are hereby adopted by the Fiscal Court as attached hereto and incorporated herein by reference. Section 3, that the findings of the Planning Commission, which are attached hereto and incorporated herein by reference, are hereby ratified and adopted by the Fiscal Court. Section 4, that the Georgetown Scott County Planning Commission is directed to show the amendment on the official zone map atlas to make reference to the number of this ordinance. Section 5, that this ordinance shall become effective on the date of its passage. First reading approved October 27th, 2022. Adopted upon second reading November 10th, 2022.
Questions or comments? Motion. Second from Mr. Doble. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, we will go to ordinance 2215, first reading zoning amendment. I'm going to ask Matt Summers to make any comments. Matt, good morning. Thank you for being here. We also have Joe Kane with us.
I guess just sort of the brief overview is we were asked to look at RV campgrounds. We looked at them and sort of how the ordinance handles them currently and came up with some recommendations as far as how they could be managed maybe better going forward, as far as how they look, where they're located, what sort of process they go through for approval. And so those are the recommendations that are before you. We went through public hearing at the Planning Commission last month and received a positive recommendation from the Commission.
Any questions or comments from Matt?
Was that a unanimous from the commission? I
That's a
think
good
it said so.
question. I don't remember.
It was.
It was, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Chad?
I would just like to thank Matt and Joe and the staff at Planning and Zoning, because that's one of the things that I had requested that they look at, and I appreciate all your all's work on this to address potential future requests and future needs with RV parks. So, thank you.
You're welcome.
Questions or comments down here? Steve, I certainly will entertain a question from you about this specific matter.
Did you not just ask for questions or comments? Did that from the public?
About this matter, yes, sir.
Okay, I'm looking at this application, and it calls for, I'm looking at page 2, item F, as in Frank. Says the surface of the parking area shall be improved, I suppose with improved, I'll read it as is. The surface of the parking area shall be improved, either paved or 8-inch compacted gravel, or as approved, etc. I have a question. What size gravel?
I would turn to J.R. Brandenburg, the expert of gravel. Would that be number 9s?
Normally it's dense grade.
Dense grade.
How big is dense grade?
It's a very fine type gravel.
Well, can you indicate with your finger? I mean, is it the size of your little finger? Or?
Hair finger.
The size of the end of my little finger, and it's got a lot of lime mixed in with it, and it sets up very hard when it's compacted and becomes a very hard surface. That's typical standards on building roads.
Well, why is that not specified here as That's what you call dense grade, right?
Yes. I have no idea why it's not specified in there. I haven't read that one.
This is a recommendation from the planning commission, and gravel, yes, gravel can come in different specs. And if the court feels like a spec needs to be included, then someone from the court can make a motion or a recommendation, better, to include that specification in the gravel.
Well, let me say, I think it would be a good idea if dense grade is considered adequate and normal and the best choice, then that should be specified in this language. And I'll tell you why. I rent a storage unit from David Lusby and Greg Johnson, out here at the bypass. And for some reason, we had all the driveways were covered with what sounds to me like dense grade, the description of what Brandenburg just said. And it was convenient. I could push a wheelbarrow. I use a wheelbarrow a lot. And I could push a wheelbarrow across. I could ride a bicycle across. I don't use any machinery. I'm doing everybody a favor. I don't use any motorized machinery. So I use that, my access to my storage unit was good, so long as dense grade, apparently, I don't know the word dense grade until today. I hear it from Brandenburg and from you all or somebody. But I think it's a very small grade of gravel.
Well, I follow your logic, and I appreciate that. Would anyone have a recommendation to include dense grade to be added into language?
Well, Judge, isn't that what the actual language is compacted gravel? Isn't that what compacted gravel is?
Well, it could be nines. It could be, JR, you tell me.
Dense grade is a typical, it compacts easy, it makes a real hard surface, and gives it a good surface to put asphalt on.
Contractors know when they hear dense grade, that's what dense grade is.
Yes.
Okay. Matt?
I would just add, we have private road standards and public road standards in the subdivision regulations. This is sort of already covered.
Okay.
It's just not in the zoning.
All right.
So this refers to, paved or gravel, and then those standards are in
All right. Thank you. So, Steve, that's already covered. I appreciate your question, and we're going to move forward. Thank you very much.
Well, let me just explain. Lusby and
Steve, the business of the court is about this piece of
right, but let me just tell you, they came back in the last several months and put big gravel as big as my fist. They covered, and now I can't go across it on a bicycle or a wheelbarrow.
Okay.
And the reason I took the trouble to ask you what kind of gravel is going to be put here in this project is to prevent and to bring your attention, to bring the public's attention to the liability of using any gravel that's as big as a man's fist, and because it impedes, you can't go across it except with a great big motor vehicle.
I appreciate that, and I believe what Mr. Summers has shared, that this is covered in
okay, well, I want you to understand why call this to your attention.
I appreciate it very much.
All right, and then
Thank
I have
you.
another question
No,
for
sir.
you.
We need to move forward with the business of this.
All right, but this is in regard to the same application. You used the word sewer. The word sewer appears in this document. I barely scanned over it, and I've already identified the word sewer at least twice in reference to the health department. The application is going to be submitted to the health department, and in my experience with the health department, that happens because of their concerns about sewage management of septic waste. And I would urge this fiscal court, as I would urge the Georgetown Council, as I would urge the Planning Commission, to not consider and not approve any application in the future that includes the language sewer until you have done research
Well,
on dry earth toilets.
Well, I appreciate that, Steve, and you've had your opportunity to share your concern. I'd like to ask you to take a seat so we can move forward with our business.
Queen Victoria
Thank you, sir.
rejected wet sewers, and you should too.
Well, I appreciate it very much. All right, is any other questions or comments? Would you read that?
Yes, sir. Scott County Fiscal Court, ordinance number 22-15. An ordinance amending the zoning ordinance of Scott County, Kentucky in the cities of Georgetown, Sadyville, and Stamping Ground pertaining to RV campgrounds. Whereas the Georgetown-Scott County Planning Commission has approved a text amendment to the zoning ordinance of Scott County, Kentucky and the cities of Georgetown, Sadyville, and Stamping Ground, or zoning ordinance. And Stacy, I'm changing the language here. Okay. It'll say pertaining to RV campgrounds. Now, therefore, be it ordained by the Scott County Fiscal Court as follows. 1. The zoning ordinance is amended as follows. Section 2.1, definitions. Agricultural use, recreational. An outdoor recreational use, i.e. fishing, boating, hunting, riding, etc., involving a tract of real estate in excess of 250 acres, which incorporates part-time residential use, example, hunting or fishing lodges, which are not primary dwellings for the occupants. This also includes lots of 20 acres or larger to be developed as an RV campground, as defined in this ordinance. RV campground, also mobile home camp, also trailer camp and overnight camping area. An area designated exclusively for the accommodation of overnight and other temporary lodging where the traveler or transient usually provides his own accommodations in a travel trailer, van, camper, or other mobile vehicle, etc. This definition does not include camping areas designed exclusively for tent or other primitive camping. Section 2.51.1. For the purposes of these regulations, 4 basic types of mobile homes development have been defined. They are 1. Mobile home parks, 2. Mobile home subdivisions, 3. RV campgrounds, and 4. A mobile home on a single lot. Section 2.51.1a. Mobile home parks and mobile home subdivisions may be permitted as a conditional use only in R2 and R3 districts. RV campgrounds may be permitted in the A1R district or by conditional use in the B2 district. All mobile home parks shall be subject to the standards of development established in the subdivision regulations. When the enforcement officer has determined the application for mobile home parks, RV campgrounds is complete, including payment of fees, the application is sent to the Board of Adjustment and/or Planning Commission, who shall proceed to consider the application in accordance with state and local regulations. Section 2.511 D2. RV campgrounds are permitted in the A1R zoning district or as a conditional use in the B2 district. A. The same application, unless changes were granted, that is submitted to the Board of Adjustment and/or Planning Commission shall be submitted to the Department of Health for their consideration. B. The minimum lot for each trailer is 3,000 square feet. C. RV campground developments should reserve 10% of the gross acreage usable open space. Open spaces should be located centrally, and each campsite should be located within 1,320 feet of an open space. Campsites should have pedestrian facilities allowing off-road access to open spaces. Open spaces should contain diverse recreation amenities to serve the patrons of the development. Adequate open space and recreation areas shall be provided in accessible locations. D. Accessory commercial uses are permitted, but no closer than 100 feet from the nearest trailer or camping lot. E. The layout and lot arrangement shall provide maximum privacy for campsites from adjoining properties and roads. This may be achieved through landscaping, natural features, radial or alternative lot arrangements, etc. F. The surface of the parking area shall be improved, either paved or 8-inch compacted gravel, or as approved by the Planning Commission or Planning Commission Director. G. All roads shall be improved as approved by the Planning Commission or Planning Commission Director. H. All lots and streets shall be properly drained. I. RV campground development shall not exceed a maximum density of 10 RV sites per gross acre when served by public sewer. Section 4.11e, permitted uses in the A1R zone. Section 4.11e3, dwellings within the development, including part-time recreational dwellings and a full-time caretaker's residence, shall not be permitted on tracts of less than 5 acres each, unless as part of an RV campground served by public sewer. 4.11, Section 4.11E6. It is recognized that an agricultural recreational development can adversely impact surrounding properties and public facilities. Examples of adverse impacts include, but are not limited to, noise, odor, light flashes, traffic, etc. Because of these potential impacts, the Commission shall review any proposed agricultural recreational development for impacts and impose such reasonable conditions of approval as necessary to alleviate any adverse impact on surrounding areas and public facilities. Adverse impact on surrounding areas which cannot be alleviated through reasonable conditions of approval shall be granted for the Commission's denial of a requested zone classification change to A1R. Section 4.11E7, RV campgrounds of 20 acres or larger are permitted in the A1R zoning district. A, RV campgrounds shall have a maximum density of 10 units or campsites per gross acre when served by public sewer. RV campgrounds not on public sewer shall have a maximum density of 1 unit per 5 gross acres. The calculation of maximum density for the development shall include all permanent or temporary residences of caretakers. B, setbacks for RV campground structures and campsites shall be 50 feet from all property lines, except along U.S. routes where the setback shall be 100 feet from the right-of-way. C, public sanitary sewer is required for all RV campgrounds with a density greater than 1 unit or campsite per 5 acres. D, RV campgrounds must be able to be served by municipal water. E, RV campgrounds must be able to have adequate water pressure and flow rates for fire protection. In addition, fire hydrants shall be installed when requested by the local fire department. F, fencing. RV campgrounds must provide fencing along boundaries with A1 zone property and rights-of-way with diamond mesh wire or equivalent with 16-foot plank on top and post spacing 8 foot on center. The required fence may not be bonded. Fencing may be waived by the Planning Commission or Planning Commission Director with the written concurrence of the adjoining property owner. G, landscaping. Establish a 50-foot preservation easement by plat along the boundaries with non-A1R zone property and rights-of-way. Such an easement will prohibit the removal or disturbance of existing vegetation unless demonstrated to be invasive, sick, or dead. This easement shall contain any required fencing. It shall also contain the following tree lines. 1, a double row of evergreen deciduous trees spaced 40 feet on centers. The ratio of evergreens and deciduous shall not exceed 2 to 1. Where the campground abuts a public road, the trees shall be 30 foot on the center. The tree plantings may be waived by the Planning Commission or Planning Commission Director where existing tree lines provide adequate screening. 2, all landscaping shall exclude any species that may be deemed harmful to livestock. Section 4.22, Conservation District Conditional Uses. Section 4.22, Conditional Uses. B, public and private camps and campgrounds excluding RV campgrounds. C, residential or seasonal dwellings provided that all health department requirements are met and the lot size is not less than 1 acre in size. Section 4.422, Highway Commercial District Conditional Uses. Section 4.422, Conditional Uses F, RV campgrounds. 1, or 2, it should say, effective date. This ordinance shall take effect upon its passage and publication, first reading, approved November 10th, 2022.
Would there be any motion to approve that?
Are you going to accept public comments, Judge?
We've already accepted public comment.
Well, I mean, if you let me finish, I would like to call
we-
your attention to it.
Steve, we've accepted public comment on the proposal already, and you had an opportunity to do so.
Motion to approve.
Are you saying I can, may I say another word?
We have a motion and we have a second. Any other question or comment? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Now, we're going to move on to roadway dedication, road adoption request. J.R. Brandenburg, could you step forward and just share with the court that you've inspected and would approve and move forward with the Deer Run Estates proposal?
Yes, this last section is 1,429 feet Ben Krebs and myself has checked it out numerous times. We did the final inspection over a month ago when everything looks great. It's a very simple road to connect up the rest of Deer Run Estates and.
Okay. Questions or comments?
Question, and this is from a letter from Mr. Krebs. It says there's currently a warranty and maintenance surety in the amount of $39,144, still in effect for the infrastructure for 1 year after the acceptance of the infrastructure by Scott County or by declaration by the homeowners for the infrastructure to be maintained privately. So I was a little confused. Is there still a part of it's going to be private, or is it all?
Not that I know of. Is that?
No, it's all public.
Yeah, it's.
We keep a 1-year maintenance bond. I think the private is just standard language. We do have some. If the HOA wanted to take over the responsibility for maintenance for 1 year, they could.
And release the bond.
So why did you keep the $39,000? Is that just?
We have a maintenance bond required to be held for 1 year. We get that at the front at the beginning, but we hold that after acceptance of the road for 1 year.
In case of
any sinkhole or.
No, I understand that, and we've had issues in the past where that wasn't enough, but that's other areas. But I don't know. That just confused me because it just made it sound like they still had the option. I guess you're saying they could come back and ask for it to be a private road again.
No.
Or maybe I don't understand.
No, once it's accepted.
Come on up here, Joe.
Once you accept it, I mean, it becomes public road, but they just have the maintenance part of it. So if the HOA wanted to take over responsibility for the maintenance for the first year, if anything comes up, if there's any failures in that year, they could take that over and then just,
But it would in no way be a private
that.
road at that point. They would just be maintaining a county road.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
And if they decided to do that, you would release the bond at that time? If they decided to take care of it for that year?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
Right, but I'm sure you've done this, but 18 of the homeowners that are affected are signing off saying they want the county to take it. That's the way I understand it. So they're signing off saying, we want the county to take it, so they don't want to have anything to do with the upkeep. I see what Kelly's talking about, that one statement, but I think it's an either or.
Well, I have no issues taking the road over. It just confused me with that one sentence.
But I think
it sounded like there's still a decision to be made.
I think that's what we're making.
Yeah, once you make it, I mean, it's not going back private.
Right. And
they've wanted this to happen for the last 2 or 3 years, right, Joe?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
I've had numerous phone calls wanting us to.
That road is actually pretty much built out. I couldn't find any empty lots.
I think it's over 90% built out. There might be 1 or 2.
There could be, but I drove it, and yeah, there might be 1 or 2 empty lots, but there are several houses that are very near completion.
I think there's 2 empty lots.
So, and another little bit of background. When we did the ordinance, the second reading, item 9 on our agenda, that used to be a part of that development. That piece of property was at 12 acres, but so that's why whoever bought that wanted to just go back to ag. He didn't want. They're not going to develop that any further. So that used to be part of that Deer Run. Just as a little background.
And I'm no way opposed to it. I just was confused by that sentence.
Ben would have been here, but he's at open enrollment, renewal.
I understand that it is kind of.
But it says or. It says either adoption by the county or take it to private. It's one or the other. The or is the key word there, I think. It separates.
I'm good with it.
All right. Is that a motion?
Second.
Motion second. Any other questions or comments? And the or is the key word there. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Extension District Board appointments, that information was shared. There are names that were shared. We have to pick 2 two, and information related to those individuals were shared. Any comments, Mr. Lyons? I see you moving to push the button.
Well, it's very unusual that this board, I don't know the names. I didn't, three of them I didn't not know at all. But reading their resumes, I would recommend Steve Beckelheimer. Probably not saying it right. And Terry Keown.
It's Cowan.
So is that number 2 and number 4?
2 and 4 on your list, yes.
Questions or comments?
Motion for approval.
Second from Mr. Hostetler. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. With that being said, today is a special called meeting because our normal meeting on tomorrow is Veterans Day, and we are off tomorrow, so that's why we're having today's meeting. So there cannot be any new business.
I do have one non-action
All right.
note for the minutes. The clerk fees were submitted in $108,978.71.
For the record to reflect, so thank you for that. I
Motion
do
good.
want to remind everyone that our next official meeting of business will be on the 22nd of November at 7. That's a Tuesday night.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Second from Mr. Ellison. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.